What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bluetail Bowhunters podcast. If it's your first time, thank you for jumping in. Hopefully, listening. For my returners, appreciate you as always. Love you guys. So we're going to jump right in. This is going to be episode 36, I believe. I'll get into more of the details of this episode here shortly. But first and foremost, as returners know that I always start my podcast with paying respects to a fallen law enforcement officer. If you're new, you will come to learn that I myself am a law enforcement officer and obviously enjoy bow hunting as a way to I just love it anyways, but it's also a good way to kind of get away from the world and the job that I do love, but it's nice to get away sometimes. So pay my respects. So this episode's Officer Down Memorial is going to go out to Deputy Sheriff Andrew Perry. He was with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office in Colorado. His end of watch was Sunday, August 7, 2022. Deputy Sheriff Perry was shot and killed while responding to a shots fired call at 5:30 p.m. at Ponderosa Drive and Grand Boulevard in Whitefield. A Fountain Police Department officer, Deputy Perry, and another deputy responded to a shooting call. When they arrived in the area, they were immediately met with gunfire. Deputy Perry was transported to a hospital where he succumbed to his injuries at 8:07 p.m. A woman was found dead in the home's front yard, presumed to have been shot by the subject. The subject committed suicide inside the home. Deputy Perry, P-E-E-R-Y, was a United States Army veteran who had served with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for 6 years and was a SWAT team member. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. So 39 years old, 6 years on the job, military veteran. So Officer, I apologize if I said it wrong, Perry, but either Peary or Perry. Maybe it's Peary. Officer Peary, or sorry, Deputy Sheriff Peary. Rest in peace and your life mattered. So on to the episode. This is a returning guest and Jake Gilbert. Jake, he runs the therapy at 20 yards. You can find him on Instagram, and we go into further detail where you can find him in the episode. Jake's somebody that I scrolled across on social media a while back. We actually did an episode with him. I believe it was episode 30. So if you want to know more, let me see here. Yep, Find Your Therapy is episode 30 with Jake. So Jake's a good dude. Obviously a very, very avid bow hunter. And so those of you that have been following along with me know that I am actually getting ready to go to Idaho. It's this week. I'm recording this right now, this intro on the 22nd, Monday, the 22nd of August, and I leave Saturday. So headed out to Idaho to hunt elk. This is the first time I've ever done a hunt anything like this. The only other out-of-state hunt that I've ever done was last year to Kentucky. Obviously those that followed along know all about that, but we hunted whitetail during that. Also went down to Georgia for a hog hunt and turkey hunt. Didn't find any turkeys, killed a couple of hogs. It was pretty cool, but this is the first time out west, first time doing any really big game stuff like this, spot and stock. So I am absolutely overly excited for this. One of my buddies was listening to the podcast and heard me talking about wanting to do it in the near future, or in the future. And just happens his parents live in Idaho and they go elk hunting every year. So he invited me. So shout out to him. Maybe more of that, or obviously more of that will come whenever I get back. Obviously the story about the hunt and everything, but super excited about that. So when I started thinking about elk hunting and out west hunting period, and like the different packing styles and tactics and stuff, I remember Jake had talked about doing some hunts like that, some hike hunts. So definitely wanted to get him on here, get any kind of tips that I can get, that I can take with me, because I'm going to be completely green to this. It's going to help going with guys that know what they're doing. But regardless, I wanted to get in with Jake and pick his brain a little bit. So yeah, we go into that. We also talk about Jake's whitetail season last year. Whenever we recorded the previous time, it was right kind of at the beginning of the season. So he runs us through the end of his whitetail season last year, as well as 3D archery shooting that he has recently partaken in. So I think I'm going to shut up and get you guys to the episode. Again, appreciate you for listening. Hopefully you like it. If you do, follow, subscribe, find me on Instagram. There's a private group on the Facebooks. So DM me or figure out a way, Instagram DMs, to get to that Facebook group. So try to post as much as I can. So a lot of content hopefully on those, especially Instagram coming up with the elk hunt in Idaho. And then shortly after that, whitetail season's upon us. So we're about a month and a half out. So hopefully everybody's getting their shit ready, getting bows tuned up, getting their broadheads figured out, and their gear ready to go, because it is going to be here soon. And if it wasn't for this elk hunt coming up, I would say I couldn't be more excited for it. But right now the elk's on my mind, but I'm super excited. So regardless, enjoy the episode. Appreciate y'all. Quarterback cloud. My man, what's up? I think we're going. Yep, looks like we're going. Welcome back, everybody. Your boy D-Pat, Bluetail Bow Hunters. Appreciate you stopping by. Got some kiddos in the background. We can have them on as like guest appearances as well.
He's probably gonna pop in a few times.
No worries. All right, so today, returning guest, I believe episode 30 maybe was the first one you came on. However, Jake Gilbert from Therapy at 20 Yards. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. We've been trying to get this thing going for weeks now, I think, maybe even months. Yeah. Life's just crazy, man. But I'm glad we could figure it out today. Nice Sunday where we both have a little bit of time on our hands. So appreciate you jumping on here.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for the invite, dude.
Yeah, man. So tell me, well, obviously Therapy at 20 Yards. If you're listening to this and you haven't listened to that episode, I encourage you to do so. However, if we have anybody that hasn't gone back and listened to that one, little brief introduction on who you are and what you're about.
I'm Jake, of course. I started TA20 back in 17, I think. And it's kind of all just one of those things that, man, so like I've told you before, I've never taken somebody to the woods or introduced them into anything outdoors, especially in this specific case, archery, and they haven't just fallen in love with it. And I've never taken anybody, put them in that situation. They've been like, I hate it. I don't want to do it.
Sure.
So there's a powerful deal there. And it kind of goes back to, like I've told you earlier, back kind of when archery started, modern archery, if you will, everybody sights in at 20 yards. That's kind of where they get their base. They learn to shoot, get their bow set up, dialed in, warm up, whatever you want to call it. Right. So for me, when I'm at that 20-yard line, starting at the beginning of the day, or even if I'm at the 80-yard line or whatever, man, you're so focused in on that shot, whether it's on an animal or a target, that you're going through your motions, your pre-shot process, and the shot breaks, and then the arrow either hits where you want it to or it doesn't. Either way, you're so mentally engaged, you want to duplicate that shot or try to figure out why it didn't go where you want it to. So that's the therapeutic part of it for me, is because that's kind of what I'll call my drug. I'm not worried about bills. I'm not worried about the kids. I'm not worried about the dog. It's just what happened during that shot. And then you got 20 yards down and 20 yards back to think about it.
For sure.
And just, like I told you earlier, one of the things I did is a friend of mine came back from Afghanistan, was in a really bad way. And, long story short, if everybody wants to hear the story, they can go back to the first episode and hear the whole thing. But, I was working at an archery shop. He called me up and said, I want to learn how to deer hunt. I sold him a bow, taught him to shoot, and he went out and killed his own deer like 3 weeks later after I did all that. And then he came back to me and said, dude, you saved my life. Of course I was like, what are you talking about? That's pretty heavy, right? And he said, well, I was in a pretty bad way after coming back from Afghanistan, because he was in some direct combat. And he said, this is one of the most mind clearing things in the entire world. And that's like, there's something to that. So I started TA20, and I guess it's kind of turned into just my own brand right now. Life is crazy. I can make all the excuses in the world, but I still want to get a podcast. I just got a camera the other day, trying to get things rolling, but life's a mess right now. So
there's a lot of that goes in, but you're pretty active on at least Instagram.
Yeah, I try to be. There's a pretty decent following. It seems to every season, it seems to bump up quite a bit, a couple hundred followers, and still trying to break that thousand mark. But with this new camera, hopefully I can I started a YouTube channel the other day. There's no content on it yet, but that's going to get kicked off here. And it's not about the fame and the fortune or anything. There's no fortune in it, let's be honest, but it's more about this right here, just linking up with other dudes, and I'm kind of an archery coach. I've worked in shops. I do my own setups. I do a ton of people's setups, so if I can link up with them and just get more people into the sport, help people out, that's what I like to do. I've had, countless kids over the house, taught them to shoot, work on their parents' bows, stuff like that. So it's kind of just a linking network type deal right now, but we'll see where it goes with it. So
for sure. I'm loving it, man. And look forward to anything you do in the future. I know we talked about, you starting a podcast and stuff like that. And I obviously don't know what the hell I'm doing, but any little bit I can help, more than welcome to.
Right.
So on that kind of that target archery, getting your mindset going. I know recently you went to is it the ASA state meet or tournament or whatever? So talk about that, man.
Probably a month ago now ish.
Yeah.
Usually during the summer, I'm far more, I practice in it far more, but this year I was working for a police agency and I had Monday and Tuesday day off, so I was working night shift every weekend. Well, the shoots are on the weekend, so I just couldn't shoot. However, let's just say that's a terribly small agency and I had a pretty big falling out. So I wound up resigning from there, and there was one more qualifying shoot. And then 5 weeks after that was the state tournament. So I told my wife, I said, hey, I want to get into this summer, try to catch up and at least go to state. So, so I did, qualified, got in the state shoot, and then went, where was it? Up by Peoria. It was in Pekin, Illinois. That's where it was. Okay. That's where the state shoot was up there. And that was probably 3 weeks ago now. So, it was a good shoot. I'd never been to that range. I'd say just an average 3D range. It was cool. It didn't have a lot of big terrain, which is nice. Everything comes into play when it comes to terrain, whether your feet are down, back, they're up, they're left, right, all that comes into play big time. So I wound up taking fourth in it, which I can make all the excuses in the world. There was some things, I'll just tell you what happened is it's 100% my own fault. But somehow my sight light got left on. So when I got there, it was raining that day. In fact, we had an 1.5-hour delay start time. So it was real overcast and everything. And then all of the targets, except for 3 of them, were inside the woods, and it's super heavy canopy. And I got in, and dude, I was struggling to even see my pins. It was rough. And I'm like, oh my God. And of course, the batteries that I had in my sight light were my backup batteries, so I didn't even have any backup. So I squeaked out a fourth, barely being able to see the targets. There was a bunch of shots that I had a mystery 5, which even the guys that I was shooting with, they were like, what was that when the arrow hit? And I looked at them, I'm like, no clue. I have no idea why that arrow went there. And the other guy in that group did the same thing on the same target. So there was some terrain or something that I didn't notice, and I screwed up the shot. I had a glance out. There was a third to last target. It was one I could actually see, and there was a guy that's shooting a 27 series diameter, which is a great big fat diameter arrow, and he just plugged it in the 12 ring. Well, his nock was glowing just from the sun, and I'm like, well, there's your reference right there. So I put it right on his nock, and you just wham right in the back. Broke his arrow. The guy just to the left and to the right of us, everybody looked at the target, and I'm like, he goes, you broke that one? I said, yeah, I hit that one hard. Well, I went in and my arrow's kicked out into an 8. So that cost me 4 points. So there's 9 points between the 5 and the glance out right there. So it is what it is, man. That's just part of the game. You can't do nothing about it. So it was a struggle, but I shot my bow pretty well. I just couldn't see. Sure. So many targets. I was just outside the 12 ring and just a little off, but.
Right.
It happens.
Is that something that you've done quite a bit in the past? Is that the state meets
Oh,
and stuff like that?
yeah. So I won a state championship a few years back. I've shot in the IBO World Championships. I've been nationally ranked. I've shot a little bit of JOAD, which is the Junior Olympic Archery Development.
Okay.
Of course, that was back a long time ago. But yeah, I've been pretty active in the competitive archery world for a while.
Hell yeah.
I took some time off, and probably 3 years ago, I jumped back into it pretty, I don't know, not consistently, but pretty decently. This next season, so this next summer, I'm gonna make a run at it and see what I can do. I talked to the wife about it, and she's all good with it. And I'm like, man, I throw up the scores that are winning scores. I was like, I just never have enough time to actually devote myself to the tournament, just because of life lately. So, like the IBO, when she was pregnant with our son, we went to the World Championship, and I was like, I think a 423 to 424 or 425 is going to win it. And it was a 424 that won it. She's like, "You been doing this for?" I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing it for like 26 years." I know the game. It's just got to have time to put it. So next year we'll make a pretty good run at it, just here on the amateur side, and just see what happens. So
just even the recreational 3D is something that I really just keep telling myself I need to get into. It seems like around here, at least, I think Broken Arrow in Hutton, it seems to always be on the Sunday that I'm working, and so I can just never go. So again, excuses, but like, especially as I was getting towards what we're going to eventually talk about, and that's this elk hunt I have coming up. I'm like, man, I've only, and another side topic, but related, I've only shot a block target for the last, I don't know, like 2 years. I don't even have like an animal target in my backyard. So I kind of got to thinking, like, man, when I get out in the woods, even with deer, I feel like I get to the point where, everything else is so much different because it's a live animal and you're actually in the woods. It's so much different than shooting a target. But at the same time, I'm so used to just shooting at a dot. And it's like, I need to start getting used to shooting at the right part of a deer, because I feel like in the moment, I'm always just like, oh, I'm on brown, and I don't really pay attention to the fine details. And I just hit, I punch a trigger, not punch trigger, but hit the trigger and just kind of hope it goes where it needs to go. And I've gotten lucky that it always hits the spine or the head. But I'm like, that might be one of my problems, is because I never practice like daily on an animal. So I finally went out and got one, and it's been a lot better. It's helping a lot. But yeah, just closer I get to this elk hunt, even I'm like, man, I need to walk through the woods and deal with different terrain and different, lighting issues and stuff that I can't really recreate in my backyard. Just eventually, but man, it's tough to do.
We could go down this rabbit hole for hours, I'm even on the professional side, but I've got enough experience in it. I mean, back when I was judging targets, it's just different. If you stand in the shade and you shoot an animal in a wide open, sunlit grass field, it's going to look huge. Whereas reverse it, it's going to look real small. I mean, the terrain shooting down, a lot of people think if you shoot uphill, you're going to hit low. If you shoot downhill, you're going to hit high. You always just make cuts. I mean, if you're, for a right-handed shooter, if your toes are pointing down, your arrow's going to drift to the right, and then vice versa. If your toes are pointed up, it's going to drift left. There's so much that goes into it. And then you got the angle on the animal itself. Let's say it's downhill and he's quartering away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you need to hit high in the back kidney area, where a lot of people are still thinking tuck it behind the shoulder.
Sure.
There's so much to it. But part of the reason I do the 3D is just so when I go to those tournaments or those shoots, I'm trying to hit the 12 rings and I'm trying to hit the 10 rings, of course, for the score.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, being a hunter, even though I know I might have to aim in a weird spot, which would not really be a kill shot per se, but I'm like, okay, that's where the 12 ring is. I want to get that bonus ring. I always am looking at it. When I walk up to the target, I'm still looking at it like, okay, I need to put that arrow, third rib back, 3/4 way up for a kill shot.
Yep.
And then you got out of it and go, okay, hold on, where's the bonus ring? Where do I need to get the score? But it clicks you into that mindset, and it puts you, a lot of things that people don't think about, depending on your bow, is, and I've told you I've shot TAC, the Total Archery Challenge, before. It really comes into play when you get out to long distance, is what's overhead. So you might be able to shoot like 100 yards. I shoot consistently on 100 yards on a deer target, and I can pull them in 10 to 15 inch group, on average.
Right.
Well, I know the arc of my arrow. Well, let's say there's a low hanging limb 60 yards out and you're not used to doing it. Boom, you're going to hit that limb,
Yep.
That'll play out there in that elk when you're shooting out there long distances and stuff. So
yeah,
it's a huge eye opener. I always suggest people to go do it and just try it. Just get the experience,
Oh, I always have fun.
Yeah.
But, and I'm glad you said that about the extra score, because I remember last year when we did Hutton, I would shoot where I would assume that I would think that the 12 ring would be like a heart shot, and then we get up there and the 12 ring's like way over here, and you wouldn't know that unless you actually walked up and saw the target first. So I didn't love that part of it, but I get it.
Yeah, that's the game part of it. That's all it is.
For sure. Yeah, and we didn't have binoculars or anything to like even see if we could try to find out where that 12 ring would be. So we were just kind of shooting for kill shots. But yeah, it was still fun, man. It's still fun. Every time I go out, I'm like, man, that was a blast. And it's like it's just hard to find time, but you got to, I guess.
Yeah, that's part of the whole. That is the whole game thing. There's, we'll just use ASA or an IBO, and you stand there and I shoot the known distance targets anymore. So I probably could make times where I could practice that yardage judging, but honestly, with 2 kids and the wife and everything, and we own the bar, and it's like I'd rather devote my time to somewhere else when I can shoot just as competitive of a class and just use a rangefinder so I know where it's at. Plus, that's more consistent to hunting, anyways.
For sure.
But you walk up to the target and you might spend 20 seconds glassing that target and going, okay, it's right behind the elbow, middle body, but we're at an angle, so I know I got to hit back this way. And you're looking at it, you're looking through them, looking over it, trying to track where that 12 ring is. And that's part of the game thing. It's pretty fun that way. And then like what happened to me, you got 2 guys that have stuffed arrows into it, and it's 3/4 of the way full. So you're mental. Do I go for it? Hope I don't glance out, or can I squeak one in there, or do you go upper 12? There's a lot to it, but it's more of it's probably just as much. Well, actually, I think it's more mental than it is physical, especially in the 3D world.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I meant to ask you before we got into all this talk, you mentioned something about you were back in law enforcement for a brief moment. I feel like I can't keep up with you, man. So talk about what you've been going through, if you don't mind. If you feel like you can't share it, then we'll just move on. But
it's fine. I got no qualms with it whatsoever. I'm in a very, very strange place right now. It's an absolute nightmare, to be honest with you. So I don't know if you remember, but the last time we talked, I was in the hiring process with the U.S. Marshals. I was going federal. So of course, COVID had that all screwed up, right? Well, whatever. And then since I've talked to you last, it got moving like crazy. Long story short, it got to the point where I was like, I'm 3 years into this. Like, when am I going to get hired, right? I got 2 kids, a wife, house, cars, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I need a job. I was just working, just random construction jobs and doing fine. But I'm like, I need to get my career back.
Yeah.
So I applied to ISP, the Illinois State Police. That's kind of been my path. So through that process, the marshals called and said, hey, we're going to hire you, but we're going to offer you a position in Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
Probably pass on that one. So got 14 hours away. We don't want to move the grandkids or, our kids away from grandma and grandpa. Her family's here, whatever. So I had to decline that offer. I'm still in the process. And if they offer something else, then fine.
Sure.
In the meantime, there was a really small agency, like a town of 1,700 people. One of their council members reached out to me because I'm friends with the sheriff here. And he said, hey, we're looking for people. And I said, sure, I'll come help you. And I said, it might be for 2 months. It might be for 6 months. I don't know, just because I'm in the process with these other 2 agencies. And I was totally upfront with it. And they were fine with it. They were totally cool. So
sure.
Long story short, I started working Interstate 51, came through there, started putting loads in the evidence lockers. And I guess they'd never seen policing like that. And being a really small, they were kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why aren't you here in the town? And I'm like, because I can only drive the same 12 roads over and over so many times, right?
For sure.
And I'm like, the crime's out there. I know it is. So kind of had some differences of opinion on that. And then long story short, I'm not going to go into the detail, but I got into a 6.5 minute fight with a dude with a warrant, tased him 3 times, totally justified. completely clean. Like he resisted. And I'm not just saying that because it's my case. Like I know I'm clean. They had their investigation. We're all good, you know. And the city was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Police work. What do you want?" You know, it just didn't work out. That's all I'm going to say about it. So I wound up resigning from them just because there was a pretty good falling out, and they wanted us to do some stuff that I was like, "That's illegal. I'm not going to do that." No. So just that, long story short, just a falling out. So actually still in ISP, and I'm actually filling out a couple more applications right now, just kind of putting some feelers out, just trying to get back in it, because I just got to get my career back going. So
For sure.
that's
Yeah,
where
and you don't want to be anywhere where you can't be yourself and it's not supported.
that
Especially
100%.
like that, man. Nah, and that's why
Yeah.
I love where I'm at, man. It's fully supported. And it has been my entire career. I mean, from day one, I hit the ground running, and I haven't had anybody tell me to slow down or stop what I'm doing. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
But since you mentioned all that, remind me whenever we get done. I got to send you a picture. I don't think I sent you. Last Sunday, ISP called me because of the dog, and we got a good load. So I'll have to send you.
You sent me a picture. But we haven't talked any more about it. So I'm definitely
interested. Did I send you that picture? Okay. I wasn't sure if I did or not.
Yeah, it looked like a lot.
Yeah,
it was heavy.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, so it was a good day. So
that's awesome.
So okay, moving forward. So I think last time, or the first time and the last time you were on, it was like right in October, I believe. So real quick before we start talking about the Western hunting, which I want to get to, give me a quick recap and my listeners as well of your season last year for your whitetail.
One of, if not the best season I've ever had, as far as being able to get into range of deer. The most heartbreaking season I've ever had, for sure. So
you had a lot of hiccups.
Yeah, I kind of feel like a little bit of a chump because I told everybody I was going to go with this the stick bow.
Yeah,
and I did. I stuck to it. October 25th, I got in really tight on a probably mid 140s 9 point on my place, and I only have 13 acres, but it sets up very nice for the rut and for cold fronts. I hold some does back there, so there's bucks that run through there, and really quality bucks that run through there quite often. And that shot, so at the very south end of my property, there's a cattle run, and he's got a 4-strand metal hot wire fence. And so that buck was standing in the cattle run, and there were no trees in the way. It was wide open. I'm like, this dude's dead. I sent it, and it hit the 1/8-inch thick top wire, which I knew was there, but I'm like, what are the odds of hitting that wire, right? So I just sent it, ping, watch the nocturnal kick up, arrow shoves in the dirt. I'm like, I can't even, I couldn't probably do that again if I wanted to.
No, never would be able to.
I went over there, checked, there was a little bit of blood on it, and I mean a little bit. I'm like, God dang it. So I hit him. It was total capillary bleeding, just skin bleeding. It ran out like 100 yards. I got one more picture of him. In fact, no, it was a video, because I put everything in video mode in case he came back. And obviously I didn't get inside the internals. There's no blood, there's no nothing. So it's just a flesh wound. And I got video of him a couple of weeks later, and he was literally dogging a doe. I'm like, okay, he's fine.
Yeah, he's good.
Never saw him again though, which I was like, whatever. I passed, I think, 6 bucks in October, 6 or 7. And I videoed all this with my phone. A couple of them were some really nice 3-year-olds, like 12, 13 yards, but I just can't bring myself to shoot a 3-year-old anymore, because I just know what they can grow up into. Right. So should I have done it just to do it with the six ring? I don't know. I mean, I've done it before, so I kind of have a hard time doing it, but
it'd be different if it was your first one with the recurve.
Oh God, I shot at like 4 points and spikes when I first started years ago. I mean, I just was trying to kill a deer, but I've got a number under my belt now. I keep looking up at that buck right there. My first big buck with it was up in Michigan. But and then let's see, November 1st. So there, I'll send you the pictures of this. I still have this on video too. I still haven't posted it because it makes me cry every time I do it. But there was a 6x6 and it had double turkey feet on its main beams on each side. And then some random flyers that made it a 6x6. And that buck was back here. November 1st, I had a buddy of mine come down and he was going to hunt the rut, which he did. And there was a cold front the first day he came through. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be killer. And it was. You still there?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm in the back of my place, sitting downwind of the doe bedding area. Broad daylight. Here comes this 6x6 around the pond. And he gets to 25. I'm ready. I got the GoPro running. And he has to make a decision if he's going to take the south path, which is going to put him out of range, or if he's going to keep working his way around me. If he kept working around me, he was eventually going to get my wind. So he was at 25 and I ranged a tree. It would have been at 20 it was like 20 and a half. And I warm up at 20. So I'm like, that's totally within my wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
So broadside, nothing in the way, 20 and a half yards. I stop him. I'm like, boom. I let it rip. And that arrow, you've shot enough deer that you can see where your arrow is going to go, and especially with a recurve because it's so slow. I mean, that bow is 167 feet a second.
Right.
But I still use a lighted knock on it so I can see it. Hey, buddy. Go play with mommy. You got your blankie? Come on, go play with mommy. Okay, bye. Go play with mommy. Daddy be done in a minute. Anyways. Oh my goodness. Go play with mommy. He got his blanket. He's so fast. There he goes. Anyways, I shoot. Arrow's looking great. That deer is facing to my left. Before the arrow gets there, it literally pivots on an ass 180 degrees and gets out of the way and shoved right into the dirt right where he was. You can see the GoPro footage. I literally just laid my head down on my bridge in my saddle and I just
started crying.
Basically, I mean, I was like, that's the biggest deer I've ever shot at. And I had to have this thing. And I hate to say it, but that's where I bowed out. I'm like, yep, that's enough.
I think most people would.
I said, that's two really nice bucks. I probably would have been total antler, probably, I don't know, 280, 290 inches between the two of them and tagged out. Right.
Right.
And I was like, that's it. I'm done. So I climbed down, went back to the house, grabbed my compound, and I'm like, I guess I'm not ready to just let big deer like that walk out of my life. So,
for sure.
So I finished it out with the compound the rest of the year. And then I saw two or three more really good shooters. Didn't get an opportunity one, but then I killed an 8-point like November 7th, I think, 6th or 7th back here on my place. Wasn't that big, and I probably shouldn't have shot it, but after the year I had, I was starting to get the twitch, and I wanted to.
I remember you texting me and saying the streak continues.
Yeah, I did. That's right. Yeah, so I kept that going, and it was a great shot. Top of his heart, both lungs. He went like 40 yards and died. Oh yeah. So it was and oh my God, I mean, Ray Charles could have followed that blood trail. It's crazy. So, my boy Nick was down here. We got on what we're gonna guess 170 to 180 inch deer. I mean, he's got a picture of it tending a doe, and you can't tell like how many tines it has, but it's just a massive frame. Right. We hunted him for 3 days, never saw him other than that one spot. He went over to the neighbors, and they have a really, really thick bottom. So I'm sure that's where he was with does and lockdown. But Nick got on that big buck, a mid 140s 8-point, and then he passed up a couple 100 to 120 inch deer. Most of that was on the public land down. I mean, the same type of land where you hunt ish. Yeah. So we had a good season. And then let's see. I struggle to admit this, but I'm gonna keep it real. I gunshot 2 more bucks and didn't recover either one of them.
Jeez.
Yeah, and one of them was a really nice one. And I don't like to admit that because people are gonna, you're probably gonna get some hate mail, but
it's fucking part of it, man.
It's hunting, man. It's that's 9 deer out of 98 that I've shot that I haven't recovered. So pretty good odds.
Yeah. It's just a rough year though.
It was
for it all to happen in 1 year.
Dude, it was terrible. I was just at the end of it. I'm like, what is going on? I told my wife, I was like, I don't even know if I should go. Of course I kept going, but I'm like, I don't know what to do to kill him. I don't, so whatever. But that's why I said it. Absolutely the best year I've ever had is being able to get on them.
Right.
I just couldn't get it closed. Half of it was with the recurve, which that's just part of stick bow hunting. And then the gunshots, I don't know. Who knows? There's no reason for that. I can't explain it, but
I built a 300 blackout pistol and I still haven't. I built it. I've had it for 3 seasons now, and every year I'm like, I get my firearm tag. I'm like, nah, I'm taking the bow. Fuck it.
Yeah,
so,
Yep. It was to the point where I was winding down, and with 2 kids, it's hard to get out to hunt. So when gun season comes, we're gonna take out the equalizer and see if we can't just get this done and over with. So.
Yeah. Well, every year I tell myself, just do it. You have it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And so I've told myself that again this year. I'm telling myself that right now.
Yeah.
But when it comes time,
yeah,
I don't know. The problem is that I can't say that. At least on my properties, one, it's just they're not set up for big deer period, but especially even far distance, the very, very teeny tiny properties that I have. So I can't say that like I would have killed a nice deer had I had my gun. I can't even say that because I just don't see them. So, but I got a couple of different properties this year that I'm gonna try out. So we'll see. But
Good.
I don't know. So let's go towards some Western stuff, man. So I know you've talked about you haven't gone into much detail about all of the Western hunting that you have done, but I know you have. So this trip came up for me. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on here, but if not, real quick, I got a buddy that I wrestled with in college that reached out after he heard me talking about wanting to go elk hunting on the podcast. He's like, hey, my parents live in Idaho and we go elk hunting every year. It's like, it's all over the counter. You got to get online. This date, this time, get in this like waiting room list. And whenever they come across you, then you apply. And if the unit still has tags, then you'll get it. So
that's awesome.
Did all that, got the tag. He got one himself. And then, I want to say he said his father and his uncle, who lived there, obviously got tags. I think he's got another friend that's got a tag as well. So I want to say there's 5 of us going. So as soon as I got that, I'm like, man, I don't know a fucking thing about hunting out west. So you're the first person I thought of because I remember you talking about doing some Western stuff. So tell me what all you've done, and we'll go from there.
I've been in the Colorado mountains a bunch, hiking, not necessarily hunting, but
okay.
You're still out there and you're still like, we've done some hikes overnight. You're still packing on your pack and whatever. Nebraska 3 or 4 times, and North Dakota. So Southwest Nebraska and Northwest Nebraska, and then Southwest North Dakota. Yeah. So those are the 2 states that I've actually been on west for as far as hunting. So,
was that last year was one antelope? Is that correct? Or was that 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago. Last year I went solo to Southwest Nebraska after some. So, yeah, but everybody thinks that North Dakota and Nebraska are flat. I can assure you they're not. When you get to the Badlands area and up in those cliffs, you're not at elevation like you're going to be out in Idaho.
Right.
I don't know what guys' elevation is going to be, but it's an ass kicker, put it that way. So,
yeah, I can't really simulate it here. We have some
not really.
Yeah, some pretty steep ridges and stuff at Fox Ridge. I don't know if you've ever been out there. That's about the closest I can get. So a few times here the last couple months, I'll just walk straight up and walk back down, walk straight up. So I'm sorry, getting the phone charger going here because I was about to die. So you're good.
I'm dropping it.
Part of it.
Yep. I'll just hold it.
So have you been elk hunting?
No, not I haven't gone yet.
So mainly antelope?
Mule deer, mule deer. Antelope was
Okay.
only 1 year just because the way the season fell. We just got a goat tag and we goat hunted for 2 days prior to getting on the mule deer.
Gotcha.
So,
So any success stories through muleys?
the first year I went out, this is one of the 9. I hit one, total pass through, and it wasn't a terrible shot, but I definitely felt like I should leave it overnight. And so I did, marked it. Everything was good. I had a decent blood trail. I followed it. It wound up going out the same way that I need to go out. So I followed it just real carefully, not trying to bump him. And then eventually he cut to the south. I kept going east to go back to the truck. And for whatever reason, that night before I got back on him, like pretty much right at daybreak. A pack of horses had come through and just completely trampled the area. I mean, it was nothing but horse piss and shit and tracks and gone. So, which really sucked, man, because I was like, okay, it was a super last light shot. I had good blood on the arrow. I did have a little bit of bile, so I thought I hit maybe a little bit back, but the blood trail was good. I mean, and I was confident in it. So I just thought, I'm not 100% on the shot, so I'm just going to let him lay overnight. It's supposed to be nice and cool. He was in the bottom. I'm like, should be dead in the morning, and no idea. I went about another 20 yards and dropped into this big sandy pit, and it was just covered in horses. And I looked for 4 days after that. I combed all over the area we were in, and nothing. Couldn't find anything.
Rough.
No, all the bucks were blown out. Everything. I mean, it was rough. So, and then this is probably, I knew you were going to ask about out west because we had talked about it. So. Right. This is probably and of course, this is just my opinion, but this is the biggest advice that I can give you. And I'm going to tell you my failures and what makes me still think that. So the second year we went out, and the second and third year I went out. The second year I got within 70 yards to a fully velvet mule deer, like day 2 or 3, and then day 4 I got within 100. Thought he was going to go one way, turns out he went the other way. When all I could have done was climbed up over the rest of the hill and had about a 60-yard downhill shot on him. Pending he would have just stayed there, of course.
Sure.
You never know. So what I'm telling, and then the third year, I got on a really nice whitetail, and I thought, oh, he'll work out into the bean field some more, and then of course he didn't. He just stayed. So it just comes from being a whitetail hunter. You just, we're so used to sitting up and ambushing them.
Yeah.
You have to get aggressive.
Right.
Like if you can see them, just do everything you can to get in them, because how many days are you going to be out there?
I think we're hunting 5 days.
Right.
Not
so
long.
you have 5 days, right? So you have about an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. And I don't know if they're going to be bugling yet or not. It might be a little early for that.
I've heard people saying it's a little early, but
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
And you may catch that random cow that comes in and fires a couple herd bolts up, or even a satellite bull up. But man, what I would do is I would put more time in the morning than I would in the evening. Reason being is get up as high as you can before daylight. As soon as it becomes daylight, glass them up, put them to bed, and then if it takes 6 hours to make that stalk, let it take 6 hours. Who cares?
Sure.
Right? That's why you're there.
Right.
So you've got to get aggressive as you possibly can, because you only have 5 days, and they're, just like a deer and any other animal, their number one thing is to survive. So they're not just going to walk over to you. You got to go get it. So that's probably the biggest thing I could tell you is, out of all the guys I've been with, all of us say, man, we got to get more aggressive when we're out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take as many risks as I can. I mean, I'm going with the guy that I was talking about, his parent or his dad, I guess, dad and uncle. It sounds like they pretty well know what the hell they're doing. So, I mean, I don't know how well. I've never met them, so I don't know if it's like an outfitter's level of knowing what they're doing or a guide's level. But it sounds like they kill almost every year. So
that's pretty impressive if they're doing that.
Yeah. So because we kind of talked about percentages. He's a really busy dude. So like when I want to just like sit there and keep messaging him back and forth, like asking him all these questions, I know he's too busy. So until we actually get in person, then he'll answer anything I got, but I don't want to keep blowing him up. But sounds like they have a pretty quite higher success rate than their average at those. Because I was looking at all the different units, and I want to say like right around 17 to 20% success rate in that unit the last couple of years. And he said that, which is pretty, from what I've learned, is pretty decent in itself. But he said that they either get a shot or they kill at least a 1 or 2 bulls every year. He said it's basically because they just go all day, and a lot of the locals and a lot of the other people, they'll hunt elk like we hunt whitetail, where they'll just go out for, you know, the first 2 hours of the day, and then they do their thing. They don't see anything. They go back, take a nap, eat lunch, whatever, then come out in the evening. He's like, we're going all day. I'm like, that's what I came to do. Like I didn't come here to go. Like if I'm taking a nap, it's going to be in the woods, just something quick.
Yep.
Get my energy back. But yeah, I'm there to hunt 5 days. I want to hunt every second I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I literally have taken a nap on the side of hills and like way up on top of these peaks and stuff. You just sit down in the middle of the day and you're like, God, I'm tired. Just,
oh yeah,
best sleep you'll have for 20, 30 minutes. You wake up like, oh, let's go.
I did that today. I'm the king of naps, dude. I can close my eyes for 15 minutes. I'm a new person.
Yeah.
Which should benefit me there. So as far as like packing, man, I got a decent backpack. I know he told me not to worry about too much because they have his dad and uncle, they have pretty well everything we're going to need, and they live there. So if we need anything else, it won't be too hard to get. But what are some things that, if you were to say, that you would definitely recommend me throwing in a pack?
So personal preference, and I found this out the hard way, is you're going to burn through water. You're going to be in elevation. You're going to burn through water, which, I mean, I can't say this kind of goes without saying because people forget about it or just inexperience. I mean, but the first year I was out, I went out with 2 2-liter bladders that I kept in my pack. I would burn through 4 liters of water a day, you know? So I upgraded to 3-liter. I've got the platypus one, so you can just do the quick changes on the hoses. They're great. I've never had a problem with them. So I carry 6 liters in my pack. And I know people get scared because it kind of gets heavy. Well, tough shit. You got to have it.
Right. Yeah. That's why you train and get ready.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. You know you're doing this.
Yeah. Like suck it up. What's an extra 6 pounds? You just got to do it. So that being said, a water purifier, some sort of little squeeze bottle. I've got a little one I can squeeze with my hand, a little pump. The first year I went out, the year that I shot that buck and couldn't find him, one of the days I was walking, I literally ran out of water at like 2:00 in the afternoon. The truck was like 3.5 miles away, and I'm like, I know I could make it. I'm not going to die, right?
Sure.
But I don't want to go back and get more water because I'm already out here up on top of these hills. So I actually found a cattle trough and refilled everything with that water purifier, and that allowed me to stay out the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So that's something I would definitely say. Water's a big one. How much you been walking in your boots?
Quite a bit. If I go to the woods, it's like today I wore them out. Like they're getting broken pretty good. Okay.
I still would recommend either athletic tape, the wide stuff. It's like 1 inch or 1.5 inches wide. Or I guess what's even better is Leuco tape. Leuco tape is crazy sticky, but if you get a hot spot or you get blisters, just tape that sucker up. Not hard. Don't tape it up real tight, but just get something to cover it. That'll save your feet for a week. I mean, really? And then what I've done, this comes from the Marine Corps. We'd get blisters all the time, right? So I'd tape it up. It allows you to finish out throughout the day. I mean, you're still going to feel it, but it's not going to be near as sensitive as it used to be. And then at the end of the night, take that shit off, let your feet dry out, let them air out. And usually within a day or two, it calluses up to the point where it's not even an issue anymore.
Cool.
So that's definitely.
Yeah, I was kind of worried because I when I went boot shopping, they had like the 3 different levels of, stiffness, and I don't really know. I'd rather have too stiff and not need it than need it and not have it. So I went with that, and they're kind of like, you just have to watch for these obviously give you higher chance of having blisters and stuff like that. So I've been trying to wear the shit out of them just to get any kind of forgiveness I can. And I mean, I haven't been hiking like I'm going to be, but I haven't had any issues yet.
Yeah, everybody, I guess on average, the holy grails, like you get 10 miles in them and they're broken. So if you got that, you'll probably be okay. But
yeah, I got that.
make sure you check your, I mean, you'll feel it if you start to get hot spots.
For sure.
If you start to get hot spots or blisters, get them taped up before it gets bad.
Yeah.
That's just my advice, and that's what I would tell you to do. So your kill kit, you're going to want, I would suggest some quality bags for your meat, not some cheap ass like Allen game bags or something, you know, something that, some type of silk or poly type deal where you can rewash it. It keeps the flies off real good. I personally love sharpening knives. When I'm out there, I have some sort of knife for gutting and cleaning up animals with a replaceable blade. Because you might use that knife for more things than just that, right? And then if you do wind up killing an elk, well, now you're going to want a razor blade instead of something dull to cut that animal. Keep your tag in like a Ziploc. You know, I keep mine in a Ziploc in the back of my bounty hunters because I guarantee you're wet through everything. The last thing you want to do is have that tag bleed out, be on the mountain, and be like, oh, shit, now I got an illegal animal. Just totally by, you know. I keep milkweed, which I was going to tell you, if you don't have any, I've still got a bunch of it.
Okay.
Do not go over there.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it, but it's right around here somewhere. I still got a little pack of it.
As long as you got some, always check those thermals, dude. Those things are going crazy in the mountains and up in hills and everything. I carry a little bit of 550 cord with me just because God knows what you're going to need it for. You know, I mean, who knows? And then I also, one of the other things I do is I carry a little bitty compass, just as an emergency type thing. Your phone goes down or you don't have service. You drop down into a basin and, you know, everything's a mountain around you. And you're like, oh shit, which way is which, you know?
For sure.
It's kind of one of those safety things. And then the other thing is, you know, the orange tape, it's not actually tape, but it's more like orange flag.
Sure.
I take like 20 feet of that, just ball it up. I put that in my vinyl harness too, just as a marker, or God forbid you break an ankle or something, you can put on a stick, wave it around, whatever you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
As far as packing your pack, I don't know. There's so many theories to it. I like to keep heavy things on top, and in the middle. In the middle, like if you got a cylinder bag, keep it in the middle or towards your back as much as you can, so it's not weight hanging off you as much.
Sure.
And anything light and packable, like a puffy jacket or your sleeping bag or anything like that, dude, you can shove that shit in every little crevice and just pack it tighter than hell.
Yeah.
Keep the thing, it kind of goes without saying again, but keep the things you think you're going to need the most, either on the top or however your pack is, wherever it's most accessible.
Sure.
One thing that I learned again in the Marine Corps, and it was beat into my head, and I actually think it's very applicable to hunting, is know where all of your sleeping gear is and some of your food, and be able to do it in the dark. So, you know, God forbid, like you in the morning, you're going up a glassing knob and you get up there, you don't want to turn your flashlight on and be like, okay, where's my stove? Where's my coffee? Where's my pillow? No, you don't want to alert the shit out of everything.
Sure.
That's kind of a little trick that I learned. And I think it, like I said, it's very applicable. Food, I don't know, man, you can go in
different options.
Yeah, there's tons of options. Mountain House is full of sodium. A lot of people bitch about it. That's what I eat. But in my opinion, it's not like I'm eating it for a month, right? I'm going to eat it 2 meals a day, probably for 4 or 5 days.
Right.
Because you're going to sweat all that shit out anyway. So who cares? If you got other stuff, I mean, that's just all to each their own. One trick that I figured out and I really like is take with you, if you can, are you going to be spike camping or are you going like back to the house?
I think we're going back from what I understand. Because I don't think they live very far from the unit that we're hunting.
That's perfect. What I would try to do is take a shaker bottle with you, fill that thing up with 2 scoops of protein and fill it all the way up with water. That is a killer calorie boost and a little bit of hydration in the middle of the day. If you're like, man, I'm hungry, but I don't feel like eating right now.
Sure.
Or I've had this happen where you're scooting in on a bedded animal and you're like, I don't want to take my stove out and everything. Dude, just slam that protein. And for me, just my personal body, I'm good for like another hour and a half.
Nice.
So that's
I never even thought about that.
Gives you calories, that protein, and some hydration. Just hammer it real quick.
Yeah.
And, gives you that good feeling in your tummy too, because it fills you up.
Oh yeah. I like to be my buddy that actually we talked about him quite a bit on the last one. We were talking about embracing the suck, the one that Dalton. He always every time we go hunting, he's like, I don't eat breakfast. I like to be hungry. It brings out the savage in me. So just talking about all this made me think about that. He always hunts hungry, so he feels closer to being able to kill something, I guess.
Hey, to each their own, man. I want a full belly.
Me too. So I do have a question, man. Since you talk about muleys, would you rather hunt muleys or whitetails?
Ooh. If I could only pick one for the rest of my life, I'd probably pick muleys. Just because
I hear that a lot about people that hunt them.
Yeah,
both.
I love, of course, I love the whitetail game. Here, this is how I explain it for people to listen that have never done it. It's whitetail is a mental chess game. Muleys is far more physical.
Yeah.
You still have to think about what you're doing and read the wind and the terrain and everything. But, you know, a mule deer, it's so much more fun, in my opinion. Well, I can't say more fun. It's just a different level of fun.
It's
because
a different fun, yeah.
Yeah, you sit up on top of the mountain or the hill, whatever you're at, and you see them, and you can, you figure out, okay, that's an animal I want to go after. Watch them bed, and dude, game on.
Yeah,
like you're physically moving in and hunting that animal versus reading the wind in a map and going, okay, he sometimes comes through here on an east wind. Hopefully he's going to be here today. You know,
sure.
The mental game is awesome with the whitetails because when it happens, dude, you're like, yes. Especially when you figure them out and you call your shot. But it's just so much more fun being on the ground, putting boots on the feet, getting on the ground and just getting after it. You know, that the one that I shot, and unfortunately I didn't get, you know, I think it was like 1.5 miles away and did this big loop around him, came up this hill. And as soon as I came up over the hill, it was like, oh, Jesus, he was right there, you know.
Go time.
That stuff it's so much fun. So much fun.
I wish, and that's why the thought of hunting like Lake Shelbyville public land is that I could try to do that. I haven't fucking figured it out yet, but like, man, there's just something different. And don't get me wrong, I love sitting in a tree stand waiting and hoping to play that chess game and try to figure them out, which I've not figured out either. But just the idea of like actually hunting something.
Yeah.
You've seen it. Yeah. You've put it to bed, or you see it out feeding somewhere, and now it's like, how do I get as close to this as possible and kill that thing in its own bedroom or its own house or whatever you want to call it, its own habitat. Like there's nothing like, oh man, that feeling. So that's why I'm like jacked to go elk hunting, because that's the kind of hunting I've been wanting to do. And I didn't one of the does, the doe I had shot a couple of years ago, it didn't start out as like a spot and stock, but it turned into one, and that was the coolest hunt I've been on. And I killed a doe, but it was nuts being on like getting pretty close and then getting to the point where I had to crawl through the woods, and like I was like looking at the herd underneath a log that had fallen over, and I could see him walking. It was like, I got to get to that big tree, so I'm like, you know, crawling, and just like that was just the coolest fucking thing in the world. It'd been cooler if it was a buck, but whatever. It was still like so many details about that hunt. I remember so much more than other hunts where I've killed deer. So just something about it.
I think what a big, and I've heard a lot of other people talk about this, and you kind of get a little bit with the traditional world, even if you're in a tree stand or anything, but you get to spend more time with that animal.
Yeah,
because,
that makes sense.
You know, you're rut hunting whitetails and just say central Illinois, you might see it 200 yards away, and in 30 seconds ballpark, you know, the shot's done, it's over with.
Yeah.
Right. If you glass up an elk, like you're going elk hunting, or a mule deer out, and you're a mile away, dude, like I told you earlier, it might take you 6 hours to go get that. But you get so much more time with that animal, and you're watching it, you're reading it, you're paying attention to the body language. You feel that wind change from this side to this side. So now you got to back up, go back around. It is addicting, dude. This is the first year I haven't been out in 5 years. I'm not thrilled about it.
You can live vicariously through me.
I am. I swear to God, I am. So
I'm excited to learn it, man. I'm fucking pumped. I'm super jacked. I'm honestly like 10,000 times more excited for this hunt than I am for deer season to start. And that's saying a
Oh,
lot because I
hell
like,
yeah. Absolutely.
like even going out today and helping Clint, we were in the woods doing some clearing and getting some stands ready. And it was just like the weather this morning, it was cooler, a little overcast, and it was like we're getting
Yep.
close. But
Yep.
that was the first time I've really thought about it because I have this elk hunt coming up, man, and I'm jacked.
When are you leaving for that?
We leave I think we're leaving the 27th, and we're leaving 27th. It's a 22-hour drive. Well, maybe because we'll have the 1st through the 5th. Yeah, we're leaving like 27th or 28th. 22-hour drive. Get there, get everything accustomed, get good to go. Probably, I would hope, maybe do some scouting the day before, and then hit the ground running. So,
right on.
Yeah, so it's coming up quick, man. It'll be here before you know it.
That's awesome.
Literally awesome. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, baby.
Yeah. What's your aerial setup? Your archery setup? What are you running?
So I've got still shooting the Matthews verdicts. I keep trying to so I got a buddy, Tyler Smith at Smith Archery down in Effingham. He's not carrying Matthews yet, and every time I go in, he had Athens for a while, and I really, really liked the new Athens last year. And I almost bought one. But I brought the Matthews back with me and I shot them back to back. And I'm like, man, I just can't. I'm like, Tyler, as soon as you find a bow that feels better than this Verdicts, I'll buy it. And I just can't I can't find it. Even the V3s and the VXRs, I don't know. There's something about that Verdicts I just love. So
yeah,
still rocking the Verdicts. I went down to 65-pound draw, and it's working out really well for me. I was at 75 when I first got it, and I shot it back to back with one that was 65, and I'm like, if I can put the 65s on there, and the draw was very similar but smoother. It was incredibly smoother, and arrow speed was not that much different. So, anyways, my arrows are put up, but Kinetic Pierce, Platinum 250s. And then I went down 50 grains in my head, but I bought the Iron Will single bevel 200 grain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
got
them bad boys, and they're ready to go. So I actually, have you seen that Dialed Archery, the new site that's is new this year?
Yeah, it's got a round knob. It's got a hole through it. It's kind of on an angle. Yeah. Yep.
So I pre-ordered one, and they're supposed to start shipping out in early July, and COVID and shit, they couldn't get the stuff that they needed to, but they just started shipping them out. So I was really hoping to get that in before, but they'll probably ship it out sometime this week. A lot of pre-orders have started to go out, but that gives me a week to decide in a new site and get used to it. So I'm not going to do it. I'll put it back, or I'll put it on when I get back and get it ready for deer season, but still rocking a 1-pin, spot hog, Tommy hog. So loving it. Do what?
I said it'd be good there as long as it's adjustable.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been practicing every day. I start at 40. So because I like starting cold and farther back to where you really got to take your time and pay attention. Yeah. And so trying to get accustomed to those. I haven't taken any shots closer than 40 for probably a week at least. So hopefully if something comes at 20, it's a chip shot. Knock on wood. Nothing ever is. But yes, and I switched my quiver up. I had a three arrow tight spot that I run for deer hunting because I usually take it off when I get to my tree, but I wanted something that was more sturdy. So I went with the tight spot pivot. It's a five arrow. I need a couple extra arrows in case I miss a couple. But I want something more sturdy and one less thing to worry about. So I'm really liking it too.
Good deal.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's coming up.
So you guys have self-service out there?
Never been. I don't know.
Yeah.
I assume it's probably decent, maybe until we get up to those higher elevations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's decent. So because it's not, Idaho's so shaped weird. So whenever I say it's the northeast corner area, you're actually like way further south than the actual northern part of Idaho.
Right. But, yeah, I know what you're saying. You're like halfway up, halfway up.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm pumped, man.
Man, that'd be cool. I'm looking forward to hearing about it when you get back.
Yeah, man. And so I'm one of those guys that's I like to set a lot of different goals. That way, if I only go out and I set one goal, and that's to kill fucking a bull elk, like the chances of that happening are pretty slim because it's me and I'm a virgin to it anyways. So it's like my first time. So I don't want to leave there and saying I didn't meet my one goal. It was a failure. So, I have a lot of other goals. That would just be I don't, obviously it's a goal. But that would be, if all the stars align, that'd be great. It'd be the cherry on top of what I hope to be a good or a fantastic trip. But some goals, man, even just seeing a damn elk, or getting within 200 yards of an elk, stuff like that, so there's different goals I have set up to where it's not going to be a complete failure if I don't kill one. So,
but I can tell you just from the mountain or from the hunts that I've been on, and they're not mountain hunts, but I've spent a lot of times in the mountains. You are going to learn a shitload about terrain, how to traverse it, your gear. But like everybody that I know of pretty much comes back and takes half the shit out of their pack. They're like, I don't need this. I don't need this. And I personally did that. I dumped so much out of my pack.
Right.
I carry like 3 things in my pack anymore when I go out, even for day trip, like all day type hunts, unless I'm hunting or going to stay out there or something. But you'll learn a lot about the animals. You'll learn about how to traverse the terrain. You'll learn how your body reacts to it too.
For sure.
And everybody's a little bit, I know you're super stud and super fit, but everybody reacts different to it.
For sure.
I know some guys
might beat the fuck out of me.
Yeah, it very well may. I mean, you'll find out. So
yeah.
You'll come back next year like, okay, we're doing this again. And I know you'll feel so much better off heading into it.
Yeah, I really, really hope to make this a yearly trip. We'll see. And the money wasn't crazy, and it helps that we're staying with his parents, so we don't have to pay
that's huge.
Even a hotel or Airbnb, like we don't have to pay for that. Even camping, we don't have to pay for that. So that's huge.
Right.
So I mean, gas is going to be ridiculous on a 22-hour trip.
Yep.
But it is what there's 3 of us driving from St. Louis area to there, so we'll be able to split it 3 ways. So it'll help a little bit. But yeah, man, it's not. I don't think it's super outrageous for the experience and what it is. So it's something I really, really hope I can do every year.
Yeah.
Or at least
I hope so. That's there's so many hunts I want to do. I'm still hooked on the mule deer thing, but I'm thinking Colorado next year because you can get a bear tag, an elk tag, and a mule deer tag. So it's kind of whatever I see on the mountain I could go after. But
yeah, I need to double check with the game laws. But Kyle, the guy I'm going with, he told me that this tag is good for an elk, a bear, or a mountain lion, I believe. Ooh. So, and he said that they last year or the year before, they were within 15 yards of a black bear, and they didn't realize that tag was good for it, so they didn't shoot it. He's like, fuck, I wish I'd have known. I'd have shot it.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, hopefully I don't get the opportunity to shoot a goddamn mountain lion. I'm good on that.
Yeah. That's a little sketch.
Yeah, you're dead before you know that fucker's even there.
Yeah, 100%, dude. If I saw one, I would like to see it first, and then I'd try to get it killed. But yeah. So
for sure. Well, Jake, brother, appreciate you.
Hey, man, always a great pleasure.
Yeah, I know within the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna probably have more questions for you. Because here, I'm gonna show you something. This is my pack right now. I'm 2 weeks out, and this is my pack. See?
Totally empty.
Fucking empty, bud.
Love it, dude. You're
I have one thing in here. A little archery tool, just in case I need.
Yeah.
Other than that,
that's funny.
Fucking empty.
That's funny. That's all right.
That's who I am. I do my best work. I'll do my best work 2 days before we leave.
Yeah.
I'll get it all figured out. The only thing I have, like the big question I have is like, and he's kind of helped me out a little bit with explaining it, but I'm just kind of dumb, is like exactly what clothes I need to bring. Cause it could be from anywhere. I mean, depending on how high we go, it could get down in the 30s.
So when I go out, I wear, so just me, my legs don't Sorry. My legs don't really get cold that often.
Mine don't either.
Okay, so we're in the same boat. So even during November whitetail season, December, until it gets like 30 below
Sure.
or 30 degrees or below, man, I don't really bulk up on the bottom. Top half I do. So I wear, man, I don't even wear, like I wear Piranhas and I wear Cools for pants.
Okay.
I don't know. They got a bunch of pockets in them. They're just like a tech pant you can get. You know, they're like a light brown or a gray, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just solid, but they're so lightweight and so breathable. When you're sweating your ass off, I really like those.
I got some pants picked out. I can't remember what the hell they are now, but I do love them. I've had them out every time I've gone to the woods this summer, and it's been hot as balls, and they do really well.
I would highly suggest a really good merino stock, like smart wool, something like that. I usually carry 2 pair with me for a week-long hunt. It's wool, so you can rinse it out. You know,
sure.
You're not going to smell good no matter what you're doing. So who cares if your feet stink, right? You find a creek, you can rinse out 1 pair, get the nasty funk out of them, wear another pair for 2-3 days, let them air out at night. I wear, not to get too weird, but I wear a full polyester underwear, or a merino underwear. So you don't chafing.
Mm-hmm.
I like it to be really super, skin tight, kind of like an Under Armour type deal.
Sure.
Something uninsulated like an Under Armour would be fine. I don't chafe that way. And then for a top, I've got a Sitka, man, it's their super ultralight shirt. I can't even remember what it is off the top of my head. Just a long sleeve. It's a half zip. I wear that when it's hot. And then I usually just take one warming layer, even a cotton sweatshirt. I know people are going to freak out I said cotton, but and then if you have a puffy, I would highly suggest a puffy. Okay. It works as a pillow. You can use it when you're glassing. You can sit on it. And then if it gets cold like that up in the middle in the night or something like that, that's going to be your best insulation right there. And when you get hot, you can shred that thing in a second, and it's not going to absorb the moisture either. That's obviously, that's what gets you cold right there's the moisture. That for me, that's what I would do. That is what I do when I'm out.
For sure. And I'm not super worried about it. I always overthink on things that I don't know. Like I'm totally ignorant about.
Yeah.
So
you don't know.
I obsessively think about how I'm going to fuck it up. But then the other part of me is I don't know that we're going to be moving most of the time. I mean, yeah, we'll probably sit to glass and everything, but the chances of us sitting in one spot for so many hours that I get cold, I feel like it's pretty slim. So regardless of elevation and temperature, I think I'll figure it out. I'll be fine.
Well, one thing you need to think about too, and I know you said there's going to be 5 of you, but let's just say, totally hypothetical, 3 of you go one way, 2 of you go the other way.
Sure.
Well, let's say it's just you and one other dude, and you're your boy, or you fall and break your femur.
For sure.
You're going to be on the mountain for a little while, and if it gets cold, you're going to want a puffy. You're going to want your sleep. I mean, that's things you need to think about too. People don't think about, injuries. That's a big thing like that. Like I would tell you, I know you're a cop, bring a tourniquet, because God forbid something, stab yourself with a broadhead.
Yep.
Know how to tie a damn wrist or arm sling. Know how to put a splint on. You don't really have probably time to learn how to suture, but a first aid kit's a big thing too. If I don't know if any of your SWAT guys have quick clot.
I got it.
Pressure dressings, gauze.
Yep, I got all that.
Pain pills, okay, you're familiar. Just a little
I plan on bringing a little pack that we get. Yep. It's got a little bit of everything. Got tourniquet right in it, so I was going to throw that in there. And
trauma shears, that's a big thing. I mean, I know you got a knife, but I know you can use it for other things too.
Sure.
God, something happens. So.
Yeah.
But
hell yeah. Well, I know, like I said, if I have any other questions, man, I got 2 weeks to ask you. I think I pretty well got everything I need, and if not, I'm with 4 other guys, so I'm sure somebody will pick up my slack if I don't, but I like having my own shit too.
Yeah, 100%. If they've been out there so many years and they're that successful, you'll probably get out there and they'll probably be like, okay, dump all your shit. Let me see what you got.
No
you
shit.
Don't need this. You don't need this. You don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
You do need this, probably. So
is that a tree stand on your back?
Right.
Yeah, you never know.
Right.
Well, Jake, I appreciate you getting on here, man. Again, we went round and round trying to figure out some time to get this done in the busy lives that we have, but I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Yeah, so we'll definitely stay in contact about this. And then deer season's coming up. We didn't talk anything about that, so we may even run it back when I get back, and we'll talk about the elk hunt and see what you're up to leading up to whitetail. So we'll try. I know
Good.
it's tough to get on here just once, but we might figure something out.
Oh, I'm sure we can figure something out. Let's do it, because I got some cameras that are blowing up actually right now on the public. So
Good deal. I wanted to ask you about it, but I'll save it. Cool. Anything you want to shout out to the listeners before we get out of here?
just, man, keep shooting your bow if you're not interested in the outdoors. I mean, you should be, number one, and two, just do it. You will not regret it, 100%.
Yeah.
So, and anybody can hit me up on Instagram. Like I said, I'm an archery coach. I teach. I do the bow mechanics. I literally have I built a 25 by 30 shop. It's a whole bow shop. I mean, my gym's in it. I can fix you up if anybody needs anything. So, or just question.
What's the general location where you live without saying exactly?
Oakley, Illinois. It's right next to Decatur.
There you go. Get somebody reference. So your Instagram handle is TA20YDS, TA20YDS. So if you're not already following, get on the Instagrams, look that up, Therapy at 20 Yards, hit that follow button. Like I said, you're pretty active on there, so people can get to know you and see what you're all about on there as well. So
yeah, we're about to be since it's actually starting this week. I kind of had some shit I had to move around, but everything's my shop was an absolute mess, but it's back now. I just started getting my bow dialed in because I had to tear it all down from the 3D world. So there's about to be a lot more content coming up right now, and then through deer season, we're going to be rolling hot. So
yeah, and like you said, YouTube's, you're going to be more active on that as well.
Yep.
Correct?
Soon. I got the camera rolling and trying to figure out the editing right now.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's your time. That's the time eater there, man.
Yeah.
That's where most of your time's going to be invested. But
sure.
anyways, yeah. So any updates, I'll definitely throw on the BTBH, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. Keep everybody informed. So Jake, again, I appreciate you jumping on here, and look forward to having you on here in the future.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Always good.
Yep. Don't hang up right away. I'm going to stop the recording.
All right.
Everybody, go shoot your bow. Don't be a bitch. Embrace the suck. Find your therapy. I think that's what we ended on the last one.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Go find your therapy.